there, and welcome to this tutorial on using my free instant mini album with Basic Gray. I'm so excited to show you all the cool stuff that you can do using one sheet of matte photo paper. Sometimes it's called presentation paper, and it doesn't matter if it's a little bit thin because you're going to be folding it up anyway. What you can't do is just print this out onto plain old paper or print it out onto traditional photo paper, because plain old paper isn't going to look good and traditional photo paper isn't going to fold. So you will need to look for presentation paper or matte photo paper. Once you've got that kind of loaded up into your printer, then we're ready to go ahead and create our album. And you can do it very, very quickly here using this little template and a couple of quick instructions. So essentially, this looks a little bit confusing, but I'll walk you right through it and it'll make sense in no time. What we've got here is essentially 6 different pages and then a front and back cover. And the way we're going to cut this is going to be the way that it will fold. So we've got our front cover here, which is actually page 1. And then we've got our back cover here, which is page 8. And then we've got 6 different little pages that will go in between. We'll fit 10 photographs in here, which I think is fun. 10 photos and a little teeny one-sheet mini album you can create in minutes. So basically all we have to do is go through each one of these pages and clip in our photographs. Then we have to kind of get our heads around the idea that half of this album is going to look like it's upside down because it's going to be printing out on pointing one way for this half and pointing one way for this half. But I'll show you a quick technique for being able to accommodate for that. We'll print it out, and then I can't wait to see how these come together for you. So what we'll do is come up the layer stack. Whenever I'm doing anything with a template, I always start at the very bottom of the layer stack, because most often a designer is going to start there to kind of give us some guidance as far as how they have thought about and gone about putting the album together. And it's no different for me. So what you can see down here at the bottom is that I've put in a sheet of the Basic Gray pattern paper, which is so gorgeous. It's from their clippings line. And this is digital pattern paper available at JessicaSprague.com in their full collections. And it's absolutely gorgeous. So I chose one of the papers there that's just a whole different collage of all different kinds of paper goods. And it creates a complex but interesting background. So we're keeping the rest of the album very simple because our background is a little bit visually complex. So then coming up the layer stack, you can see we've got page 1 right here, and what we'll always be looking for in any of my templates is this plus sign. This plus sign means that this is a clippable layer, or a layer that you can create a clipping mask on. So all of these orange blocks are clipping masks that are placeholders for images. I've gone ahead and opened up one of my Instagram images right here. Now you can go to a website such as Statagram, or you can go to Instagram.com, or you can save off from your phone, or here's a little secret, you can actually click and drag right in from Instagram or Statagram and pull your Instagram images right back down from online and put them into this little album. The images that you'll get are almost perfectly sized for that purpose. So with our move tool selected, we'll just click and drag to pull that up right over to the tab that's there at the top of the screen, or if you're in Photoshop Elements, you can use the project bin. And then we'll just pull this right down, and you can see that I pulled this image off of Statagram, and you can see that it comes in almost perfectly sized. But in order to get our little white border here, let's go ahead and clip this down. So you can see I've got my plus layer 1 here, and then my plus page 1 layer right underneath that. Now here is where we're going to add in our little hotkey. We're going to hold down our Alt or our Option key if you're on the Mac, and wait for our cursor to turn into that little double circle icon. You can see that when that happens, click down and it will conform your photograph to the size and shape of that layer right underneath it. This is the foundation for creating clipping masks, and it's really the foundation for anything you're going to do in Photoshop that deals with scrapbooking or creating items or projects using digital pattern paper or digital crafting supplies. So we could try the same thing again. I've only got one photograph open, so I'll try it again here. But I've also included some different elements here on page 1, and I've used the Another Typewriter font that you can find for free over at dafont.com. Once you get that installed, then you can actually just double click on each one of these lines and change them to your own type. That's the reason why I left them in there. So as we work our way up this page, you can see here's our next photo block, our next placeholder. We will do the exact same thing. Now, I'm going to assume you've got a different photograph and you're not going to be placing 10 of the same picture all into your album, but whatever it is that you like, I'm just going to use this same one again. So you'll switch over to it and then click and drag to pull that up with your move tool. Drop it right over the top of that placeholder. And now, here's our clipping mask. Hover on the line in between our photograph and the layer underneath it. Hold down Alt or Option, and then wait until you see that little double circle icon for your cursor. And then you can click down to create your clipping mask. Beautiful. So let's imagine that we've worked our way all the way through page 2, and now we're going to, as we move up our layer stack, we start on page 3A. Now here is where things are going to get just the tiniest bit confusing if we don't rotate our image all the way around. Because from here on out, everything's going to look upside down to us. So let's rotate our entire image by 180 degrees. You could stay here if you wanted to and just rotate everything, but I find it a lot easier to work with this particular template if I can turn it around. So we'll come up to Image and Rotate and 180 degrees. Now, the top half of our image looks upside down and the bottom half looks right side up, which is just what we want. So I'm going to use that same image again. Let's just assume that this is a different picture here. Move tool is selected. Click and drag to pull that up, and you'll notice that I had clicked on that placeholder image right here. So that when I pull this down onto my page and line it up right over the top of that clipping mask, it comes in the layer directly above that mask. And that's really important because when I create my clipping mask, it automatically attaches itself to whatever the layer is that's underneath it. So here's my photograph and my placeholder for page 3A. Hover, Alt or Option, and click down to create our mask. Now I have 3 very attractive photographs of myself and my husband in New York City. Of course, I know that you are going to be able to add in lots of different photos of yourself, your memories, your family, the things and places and people that you love. This is a great small little gift. It's wonderful to just stick on your coffee table. It's wonderful to throw into your purse or into your bag to be able to show to people or to just pull out whenever you'd like to look at some of the memories and shots of your beautiful life. So there's one other thing. Let's come back around to our front and back covers here. So we'll assume that we're all the way finished here. Feel free to add or remove any of the type or embellishments. And now let's come back around, Image and Rotate and 180 degrees. Now don't worry at all that half of your picture is going to be upside down because the folding process will actually create a book where all of your pictures are right side up. But I've included 2 title cards. One of them is called Action Shots, and then one of them right here is called Memories. And so feel free to just show or hide whichever one of those layers that you would like. So go ahead and work all the way up the layer stack, and when you're all done, we're going to be ready to print. So let's go ahead and look at what it's going to be like to print this out. We're going to come to File and Print. And when we get our print dialog box, you're going to want to set this to the photograph or the document that we have. We want to select that we're printing this out at actual size, and we want this to print borderless. So be sure that you can actually print this in a borderless way, or if you can't, then go ahead and shrink to fit. That way, when you go into the construction process, you can just trim off any white edges that you have around the edges, follow the instructions for folding, and I can't wait to see what your mini album looks like. This has been the tutorial for using the instant album using Basic Gray from Jessica Sprague.